Hey, and welcome to part 2 of me answering Tumblr questions. Hello, I wanted to tell you that I really like your work. I wanted to ask a question and I hope it's not too spoiler-ish. I was rereading chapter 9 and there was a scene with Yildar and White. Didn't White hate Yildar though? How come he was talking to him? Also, does Yildar know what Black is going through? I kind of feel sorry for him for some reason. He and Black seem to have had a weird addictive relationship. That indeed is true. They really had a weird addictive relationship, and it is so true that White hates Yildar, but also White thinks a lot and he's curious about lots of things. About himself, about Yildar, and about Black, so I can't go into details of that visit, but he did go there and Yildar did meet with him and they had a talk, and that's about what I can share. Does Yildar know what Black is going through? That is also another answer that I think I'll leave for volume 7. Yeah. So I hope you're still enjoying the ride, reading the story, and hope you'll get the answers soon. I can really imagine Grey is on Jump Square. Why don't you publish it there? It's monthly, so there isn't that much of pressure. Now, let's imagine that I actually do have that. I don't think I'll ever want to work with Grey is with any magazine. Not because of pressure, but I really want all the artistic and intellectual freedom while working on Grey is. And I don't think it's a very Jump Square-esque at all. I don't think the audience is the same. And it's not something for me to decide. But I'm really encouraged to see that you think I can actually make it in Jump or any other magazine. Thank you so much. Hey, just wanted to know, when did you start seriously practicing backgrounds and perspective and all related things? And how much time did it take to become at least good at it? When did I start seriously practicing backgrounds and perspective? It's difficult because I started with easy methods to get those backgrounds, but I was constantly trying to understand what I'm drawing. Like when I started Grey is, I really didn't have any interest. It's not about the skill. When I started, I really was interested in drawing only characters. I didn't care for backgrounds at all. But I knew that I needed backgrounds, so that's why, coming from an architecture background and lots of lectures that I didn't pay any attention to, which I'm very ashamed to say, so I kind of wasted the time that I could have learned perspective in doing other things, worrying about other things, and when I had decided to actually use backgrounds, I didn't have the skill to draw it by hand. So what I did is I worked with what I had, which is my skill in designing, modeling 3D spaces using Google SketchUp. And I did that for Black and White's apartment because that apartment is the one that they're gonna stay in for a very long time, for a very big number of chapters. So I did that, and at first I used to take the shot at it as is, and whichever thing, details or clothes or food or something that isn't really solid, I used to draw by hand. So I had the understanding of how to place things in perspective. So that was the easy thing. Nature, scapes, and whenever there are trees or parks, that was easy for me because I'm actually interested in that, just like characters. But when did I start to actually really be interested in backgrounds was, I think, beginning volume 5. But I 100% enjoyed it in volume 7, chapter 48 onwards. I really enjoyed creating backgrounds, and I felt like those are characters now. They're not just backgrounds, they're not just something behind the character, but a character in itself. So it was a very long journey that I used lots of things, from photos to 3D models to observing from life to imagining things. But in the end, after almost 8 years of working with Grey I am now taking background seriously, and having fun drawing them. How much does it take? I think it depends on how much you're interested and willing to put time into it. If you're working on a story with lots of elements in a page, I think it will take longer than if you have this sole objective of getting good in backgrounds. I think if you only want to focus on drawing backgrounds and getting better at it, I think if you put all your effort into that, you can achieve what you want with lots of observation and understanding and putting good amount of focused drawing into this. Hello, I hope people can understand that your manga is far away from yaoi. Grey is contain the purest friendship I have ever seen. A friendship that is maybe people think it's rare in these days, but I'm sure there is still lots of stories like Grey is. Keep up your hard work. I wish you all the best. Thank you so very much. Thankfully, comments about it being yaoi is getting less and less. Now, I'm not sure if I'm not getting any new readers, but it's a comfortable thing to feel that people are really understanding Grey is for what it is and enjoying the friendship with all its purity that I intended for it to be there. And I'm really happy that you used that word, because pure, innocent, and platonic is everything that I really want to write and draw. And reading your message makes me so happy, so thank you very much. Have you ever thought of hiring some artists with you? Like to get things done fast and we would get the chance to know the end of their story, because I'm dying, I want to know more. By the way, did you thought when you are going to release your last chapter, or you just go with the story? I've never thought of hiring artists with me, assistants. If I ever want that, it would be for another story, a story that I will sketch and I'll hire assistants to line. But for Grey is, no man, I want to work on it on my own, the way I like it, and I feel I'm fairly fast with it. I know it's taking like a year to release 7 chapters, but I feel like I'm going at a steady pace and the story is progressing in a faster pace right now, starting chapters volume 6 onwards, from chapter 40 onwards. I have no idea when I'll release the last chapter. I don't even have any idea what the last chapter is about. So I'm just going with the flow of things, and once everything there is to say in this world, the story will end, and that's a very bittersweet thought. So let's just move from here. At the beginning, I misjudged Grey. I thought, here comes another happy, cheesy relationship. I was impressed by your art for 3 years, yet didn't read it. Yesterday, I said, well, let's give it a try, and oh my god, I couldn't stop reading. This is very sad. Both of them are broken. My heart is bleeding for my babies. Save them, please. Thank you very much. This is a very cute message. I kind of like and dislike this idea of people misjudging Grey is because of its looks. But I kind of like it more than dislike it. I feel like some people won't approach the story because they misjudge it. But at the same time, I feel like the good ones, not the good ones, but the people who will enjoy my storytelling will approach it at the end. It makes me happy to feel that you're feeling so strongly, and I'm sorry for your heart bleeding. Don't worry, I will try to save them with everything that I have, but they really need to save themselves first and allow me to save them. So let's wait and see. I've struggled with self-harm for about 5 years now. I've been doing great this year though, and I've always wondered, what does White secretly think of Black self-harming? Does Black ever feel guilty when White is bandaging him up? I don't know if you understand what I'm asking, but self-harm is very intimate, and having other people know can be scary. Thank you for this story. You're helping me more than you know. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and you're helping me as well by telling me this. You raise questions that I think about often, or I've never thought about before. Now, what White secretly thinks about Black's self-harming, I don't think he gets it. He tries, and across the chapters, Black gave him lots of reasons. I don't want to get into details because they're gonna talk and deal with this more as the chapters progress. But Black feels guilty. Black feels really bad if he goes to White for him to take care of his wounds. But he doesn't feel ashamed. I think Black was more ashamed when White took care of him after a beating, because that was, like, in Black's head, the way I see it, I see that he feels when he's self-harming, he's doing the thing mindfully and consciously, so he doesn't feel ashamed because he's in control. But back in the day, he really was ashamed when going to White for him to mend his wounds when Yildar beat him, because he's a guy who feels weak being beaten by a bigger, older guy. Currently in the story, Black believes that he's helping himself with this, and White doesn't have any reason to object. He doesn't really understand how it affects White. So yeah, thank you so much for your question. Hi, I wanted to say that I love your art style so very much. The way you draw is so beautiful, and I feel like I fall in love with it every time I see some of your art. I'm working towards improving and creating a style for my own art that I love as much as I love yours. Thanks for sharing your art and story with us. And I wish you a beautiful year with many great adventures and lots of productive, bright days. Thank you so much. You can't imagine how much I feel, the amount of happiness I feel every time somebody says that they love their art, because that's always the key. That's always the thing that kickstarts everything and keeps you on the road. No matter how badly things turn out, no matter how difficult it feels, if you have that love and if you precious your art in a not perfectionist way, you'll go places you'll never imagine that you will. So thank you so much for sharing your message, and I do hope you're getting bigger and bigger with your art and documenting your life in the most beautiful ways. I wish you all the same. D, I wonder, the first drawing of Black and White, was it look like them, or they kept changing and in the end they became like this? I mean, like at the beginning, Black was taller and had black hair, but now he's small cinnamon roll with white hair. No, the looks stayed the same. They didn't change. If I had the courage to change them, I would. I would have loved for them to have some unique feature, but at the same time, I feel like they're good, bland as they are. From the start, Black was smaller with white hair, and White was taller with black hair. But they did change over the years with the development of the art. But the basic idea of them stayed the same. I'm a new reader, and I have to say I love Grey Is so much so far. There are just a few things I only half understand. What was the exact reason White left, and why did Black have panic attacks when they went to White's house to take care of his dad? The exact reason why White left hasn't been revealed yet, and why did Black have panic attacks when they went to White's house? Now, when White got back, Black didn't have his full memory intact. He had feelings towards certain people, places, and any line or any place can trigger his feelings without understanding why. He was basically remembering with his body and his soul and his heart, but not with his mind. So it's kind of when you smell a scent and you feel like it took me back, but you don't know where or when or who were that scent. Kind of like that for Black, but even more foggy and blurred in his head. So being in Jad's house, where he spent most of his life, especially the last year when he left his family's house, White took him to Jad's house and they stayed there till they moved to the city, to Rollin College and all that. So all these feelings that Black had back then resurfaced in him without the memory of what was happening. So he had lots of panic attacks and his whole body and mind went haywire with him being there. Thank you so much, and I really hope you continued reading the story and enjoying it. Dear D, I just want to say thank you for your amazing art. for your great inspiration for Great Is, and for giving me the hope again to make art after losing it. Thank you again and again so much. All the world wishes for you, and keep shining. Thank you so much. I really hope you shine yourself, and this is another thing that I really love and so thankful for, people finding their way back into art or writing through my work. It's more than I can imagine that I can do, and it's just so inspiring, encouraging, and whenever I feel like, yeah, nobody cares, I don't think anybody is enjoying the story, I don't think it's making anything, I get one of those messages, and it's always a good reminder to just keep sharing, forget about the comments or interactions. Maybe people are taking other things out of this creation. So thank you so much for sharing. Hi, I'm your fan and always follow your comics since 1 or 2 years ago, maybe. Well, I love your comics so much. I adore the way you're so about black and white, and in the first time I really fallen in love with this kind of manga in such a long time. I really love the way you use panel for comic. I always wondering how you can be so freely express your emotion into them. You'll always be my role model and idol. I love you so much. Thank you for always encouraging me with your work. No, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this. Your words makes me happy and inspire and encourage me, so it's really appreciate sharing it. As for the paneling and how I express freely, I think that comes from the freedom of creating this work alone. When I started, I was so traditionally working with the panels, but as the story progresses and I felt like, I think it comes from my love for poetry, Arabic poetry. I read lots of Arabic poetry, and in Arab literature, they rely heavily on imagery and metaphors and analogies, and they use little words and little expressions to express something so big that has multiple meanings. And I think all my readings as a kid kind of influenced my thinking, and I just pour it all on the page. Whenever I'm thinking, I found an analogy that strengthens and explains what black and white are going through, and I just feel like, okay, let's combine it with an image for that metaphor. So it's a really messy style that started so messy, and then I'm still trying to shape it and hone my skills in it. So I really hope it gets more and more refined and easy to understand without all the mess of the text over a layer of panels and then a layer of an image to explain a metaphor. Thank you so much for commenting on that. I enjoy it, but I'm not always sure of it. So knowing that people are interested in how I create it makes me feel like, yeah, maybe I should stick to that. It works well with Grey Is, so I think I'm gonna stick with it anyway. Can your sister draw? Yeah, she can. She's a very a sentimental kind of painter. I feel at peace when I see her work, and she's trying so much in all areas of art, and I'll leave links for her work in the description. If you're interested in her work, please do support her. She's just starting out, and any support will be much appreciated. Thank you. D, you have a cat and a rabbit. I want a cat too, but I live in a small house, and probably I can't give enough free space for it to play. And I'm a med student. I'm not at home usually, but I really love cats. Should I adopt a cat? What do you think? If there was a guarantee of the cat's personality when you adopt one, I would tell you to go with one that is lazy and doesn't need much attention and isn't social and won't do any problems when you're not at home. But with the way you described, I don't think it's really fair for the cat to be locked in a small space when you're not there all the time. I always think when people ask me about my cat, which isn't my cat, my sister left it after she moved abroad, and my rabbit, I always say that if I don't work from home, I don't think I'll get ones. And even when I want to travel, I always think hard before planning a trip, just because I don't want to trouble anybody taking care of them when I'm away having fun, because it's a lot of work and one has to have real give it a real good thought before committing to it, because it's a really big commitment in my opinion. I really admire your generosity and courage in selling the original illustration. They hold sentimental value, special moments and efforts, which every fan would be honored to obtain them, and congratulate you for being successful in the sweet and hard manga journey. Thank you so much. This is a very nice way in putting it, because lots of people attack me like, how can you sell your original art? Don't you love it? And stuff. And I really am happy that you get it totally, because yeah, it has a sentimental value, and there are lots of old original art that I haven't put up for sale just because I have a sentimental value with them. But generally speaking, I like whenever I feel like I'm getting more materialistic in life in general, and I forget that in the end I'm not gonna go so morbid into this, but I have this thought always that eventually I'm gonna go under the ground and I'm gonna be buried. I'm not taking anything with me. So why am I holding on to a piece of paper that will probably make someone happier than me owning it or putting it inside a notebook that the dust is piling up over, and I won't see it as good when somebody would be really happy with it, maybe frame it and put it in their house, and it will encourage them or makes them smile or whatever. So I just put it up for sale. I'd love to have put it for cheaper, because what I'm saying makes me sound like I'm this, oh my god, so not materialistic. But then when you see these prices, you're like, really? You're selling art because you're not materialistic, but then you put this price? I like to be realistic. It's an original art in the end. So it's really a struggle being an artist, because one way you're thinking so spiritually and so, I don't know how, thinking in a very sentimental value kind of deal, but then when you price, you go like, no, this should sell more, and it's a very difficult place to be in. But thank you so much for sharing your message. Oh my god, this is a very bad answer, sorry. Hi, I just wanted to tell you that your story has inspired me a lot. I just love it, the plot, the characters, your art, it's all amazing. So thank you so much for creating something like this. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts in this. It makes me smile, and it's truly inspiring for me to read it. Thank you.